Welcome to the AM Report. If you've just joined us, you're right in time for Today in Politics. And we're zooming in on this Monday. The organization known as Unite Behind is urging the Commission into state capture to speed up its work so that those responsible for plundering PRASA can be brought to book. For more on this now, we're joined by the movement's coordinator, Mmeli Dube. Mr. Dube, thanks very much for your time and welcome to the AM Report. I imagine part of the many questions for South Africans this morning is the delay going to compromise efforts that are aimed at ensuring that the Commission finishes its work in time?
Time, obviously, I think we... good morning to you, Ayanda, and your listeners and viewers. I think all of us know that the delay has been caused by... COVID-19, the situation which no one can really do anything about. But we hope that the Commission's resumption means that, it can now move quicker. We know they've made adjustments to ensure that they finish their work. So we're not really worried about that at the moment. I think that it will certainly complete its work.
Yeah, and of course we're having that process back in the spotlight today. In fact, Mmeli had previously also appeared before the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, where he made quite scathing corruption allegations against some who are quote-unquote politically connected. What should we expect from the former board chair of the parastatal, given of course the time lapse, and what else might be uncovered?
Yeah, I think South Africans will remember that Leffel's board is the board that actually started implementing one of the major recommendations by the former reporter Tulima Tansela through her report released in 2015. To investigate or to commission investigations into two major contracts that were awarded corruptly in PRASA. One was the Srifambo deal, the one I think that gave us the locomotives that were much bigger than the infrastructure of South Africa. That was awarded to a German company funded by Srifambo Rail Leasing, a South African company. That was from 20 days before the tender was flighted. And then the second one was the Siangena Technologies, actually bought an extension, without board's approval by the former CEO, Lucky Mondana, to the tune of 2 billion. So I think we hope to get more light. We want him to shed more light into the network of, these people that were involved in facilitating and benefiting from state capture in PRASA. On the Srifambo case, he had already started doing that, and we're hoping that he will go on to actually prove if that deal was an innocent tender on the part of Srifambo, or prove clearly who was involved and how they were involved.
So like most things during the lockdown period, the hearings are going to resume virtually. I do wonder whether there are any particular concerns in the form of perhaps even blind spots that we need to consider, given the fact that a lot of the testimonies before the lockdown gained significance because of things like body language, right? Being able to read the energy in the room when certain questions are answered. We're obviously going to be robbed of that opportunity given how the State Capture Commission will resume today.
We will certainly be robbed of that, particularly because obviously South Africans have to quite understand the extent of state capture at PRASA. It hasn't been covered over the years, as much as your Transnet, your Eskom and others, and particularly involved in the Guptas. But we are not really worried about that because we do not see that as a hindrance to the state institutions like your NPA, your Hawks and others because the affidavits will still be. The sworn statements of full witnesses will still be submitted in full, even though the Commission has said that they'll focus on just the main points of the evidence. Well, I'm not a lawyer, but I think the way they've framed it is to try and concentrate on finishing all the cases and making up for the time that's been lost. But we don't see that as a hindrance in any way of giving tangible evidence in terms of the networks of people that were involved in capturing PRASA, and also presenting the hard evidence on which other institutions can act on.
Speak to us about how things have unfolded so far. I think, for better or for worse, many South Africans are slowly becoming disillusioned about, whether the State Capture Commission of Inquiry in and of itself will lead to any material outcomes insofar as prosecutions are concerned. Are you still holding on to that prospect? Are you still optimistic that this is a worthwhile cause that will yield real results?
Well, I think everyone who has been following will be justified to be frustrated and a little disappointed at the moment, particularly because of the time. I'll just maybe give an example of PRASA alone. It's 5 years now after Advocate Tulima Donsela released a direct report, which actually detailed in very tangible ways the ways in which PRASA had been plundered. And then the follow-through happened during the board of Popo Mlefe, and then he was pushed out by what we would call the fight back, obviously. So there has been fight back from the people who benefited and facilitated state capture, and a lot of delays have happened in the process. So even the Zondo Commission also has extended its time before. So frustrations will be very much justified under the circumstances, because what's happening is that the people who benefited and facilitated state capture still walk scot-free. In the case of the Sufambo managing director, he appeared on the news just a few months back, having bought a wine estate in Cape Town, which basically frustrates the public to see how the public funds are diverted into people's pockets without any recourse. So I think we are partly hopeful and partly obviously frustrated.
Absolutely. And very quickly, some of the issues you'll be looking out for today when the hearings resume, particularly with Popo Mlefe amongst the people taking the stand.
So Popo Mlefe's board obviously presided over a period of, when the redress started in PRASA. So we look forward to evidence as to how the likes of Ozo Mashar is, who has been appealing all along that, the Sufambo leasing company was, is innocent. They tendered innocently. There was no tailoring of a tender. There was no fronting for a German company and stuff. So we expect that evidence to be beyond any doubt and to be actionable. We know already the court has made pronouncements, but there has been delays on parts of Hawks, on parts of the NPA, which has been, understandably trying to rebuild its capacity. But we expect after this, at least, the Zondo Commission to be able to put together recommendations. We know that there's still a lot, especially Unite Behind also got an invitation before the lockdown to also appear before the Commission. We hope that will go ahead. There is still many witnesses that are to appear. But today we expect a continuation of where Popo Mlefe left last time.
All right. Thank you very much for your time and for your insights. Certainly appreciate it. Mmeli Dube is a coordinator with the civil society organization Unite Behind.